Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sound Collision Radio. I'm your official host, Conquest. We are conducting our first video podcast, and I have my co-host here, Ashley, who is going to be asking me some questions that they're going to be really, really tough that I'm going to have to answer to get you guys to know me before I start talking to any other artists out there. Fire away.
Oh, well, you want to start easy or you want to start hard?
Man, I didn't know this was going to be a grill session. Wherever you want to start at, that's perfectly fine with me.
Well, let's just start with a simple question. What was your inspiration for all this?
Music. My inspiration for music or for doing this?
For doing this and the music.
Well, I'll start with the music. Music, the reason I was inspired to do music, it's since I was a kid, it was actually because of my grandfather. We're Puerto Rican. In our culture, we do this thing called baranda. And that's where it's basically caroling around the holidays, where we just show up at people's houses, instruments and all. It could be 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, show up at your house and it's just a big group. We just start playing music, and I thought it was just beautiful because there was no rehearsing, there was no nothing. It was completely natural. And no one was ever angry if we show up at their house that early in the morning, that late at night, whatever time it was. They'd put snacks out, drinks for us, anything we needed, really, they took care of us as we sang along with them. And my grandfather, he was just so into music that he would write his own songs. I actually have a couple of his notebooks still. He has since passed. May he rest in peace. And he liked to play the accordion. And for me, it was always the vocals. He would write songs down and he would practice them in a back room where my grandmother used to iron his clothes. And he wasn't afraid. I think he had more confidence than I do right now, and even doing this. So it was just inspiring. And I got into a ROTC band where I played a couple instruments. And then eventually I was in a chamber choir with my high school and started doing choir. From there, it was just one thing after another. I started getting to different genres. But officially, that's where I first started really, really diving into my passion. And I would say my grandfather gave that push. During that journey, I realized getting to where I am now, which is nowhere up above. I'm not topping anybody, but getting just to here, this is extremely difficult just because there's not a lot of support for you out there. And there's a ton of competition. I mean, the industry right now is completely saturated with people just trying to get in, and then it's competitive. So everyone wants to step on everybody to try to get ahead of the next person. So there's not really a support system unless you have people that are willing to step in financially and back you 100%. It's very, very, very hard. So for a little bit of time, I want to say since before I moved into this place and we moved into getting this studio together, I had it on my mind. I used to daydream about getting interviewed, and I wasn't sure how I would go about that. I'm like, who's going to want to interview me? I'm nobody. So I just, I decided, okay, be the person you needed. So I decided to put this together, interview artists, give you guys a chance to get to discover new music and listen to some people. Everybody's got a story to tell. So I figured this is a great opportunity. They don't have to financially pay to do so. It's just something that they could see that there is support out there, and you don't have to stick to the same music you listen to all the time. There's other good artists out there. But that's basically what got me here.
No, do you have anybody who inspired you to keep going further besides your grandfather?
I have a few people that inspired me. One of them, I would have to say, he wasn't actually my music director. But I had there was a music director in my high school. His name was Mr. Pons. Um, he was passionate. He directed me for a little bit. I don't know how to read music notes. I can't even try it. But they've tried to teach me, and I failed at it every time. But if I heard a sound, I could mimic it. Give me an instrument, tell me which buttons to push. I can mimic it very easily. So the ROTC department actually hired this guy to come and make sounds with his mouth so I could play this huge instrument called the baritone. And he'd, just make the sounds. And I'd sit there and I would just go along with him. He wasn't physically playing an instrument himself for me to hear it so I could copy it. He was literally doing it with his mouth. And we went on to, win competitions that way. And it inspired me because his heart was fully in it to get me there. He saw that I had potential to help our band because the baritone players were right in front in the competitions. So I'm like, man,
now, were you guys in front because you guys had more bass in your?
Yes, there was so much more bass. It kind of it carried the rest of the music. I don't even know how, but it was just the first time he heard me, play the instrument, just make a sound out of it. It was louder than it normally is. So he really, really liked that. He's like, I think we can do this. And he pushed and we went on to win a competition, and I truly got inspired by that. Ludacris actually inspired me. How he started out going out to the street selling his own CDs. He didn't actually have the financial support or anything to get to where you guys see him today. There's NF. NF is a huge inspiration for me as well. He came from a very tough situation, and now look at him. You got Eminem. I'm sure plenty of you have seen 8 Mile. It's not the 100% accurate story, but he's still, you can see where they came from and how they still just managed to overcome the obstacles. Like all the odds were against them. And I'm like, if they can, so can I.
Right.
So I'm not where I would like to be, but I am farther than where I was, and that's great for me. Like, I'm happy with that.
I love these questions because you can always see like the glint in their eyes when they talking about people that they inspire. So what is your main goal when it comes to your music career?
My music career right now. So I'm not going to lie. I'm sure all other artists have felt this way, where you envision yourself on stage and you want this crowd just screaming, singing along with you and stuff. And it used to be that way for me. But since I started following my faith, Jesus Christ, I no longer wanted that anymore. It started to like kind of dissipate, and it became more of a thing of wanting to serve. And I felt like I love music and I could still serve with music, So right now for me, knowing that there's a lot of struggling artists out there right now, it took me a year to get the studio to where it's at right now. And I
beautiful.
think, thank you. And she knows, she's seen me hard at work coming down, doing all this stuff. But, I just feel like now that I have been getting all this stuff together and knowing that there's struggling artists out there, like just even doing this right now, it's some way in me serving. Like I'm still helping, because there's Christian artists out there right now that they're struggling. There's a guy I heard on YouTube, Redeemed, where he did a song that it knocked my socks off. But I fell in love with the song, and I kept playing it over and over, and on the way to work and everything. There's just stuff like that. Like I wouldn't have known he existed if I didn't stumble on it by accident, by a suggestion on YouTube. I would have never known. So doing something like this, I'd be helping people. That's where I see my music going to. So when I speak about my problems And me doing this for my career, I see myself helping other artists get somewhere. I no longer want to be like top dog. I don't want to do music where I'm like, hey, I'm better than you. I feel like that's redundant, and every artist does that. And I think it starts to blend together. All of it starts to blend together. So I want to do something different. If it means building up other artists and creating this community, why not? Why not? It's still of service, and it's kind of like a pay me forward thing. So if I help them, they might help the next guy. You know, they might be closer to a guy in their city, their town, wherever they're at. If they don't make it here to the studio, we're gonna do obviously something online, a video chat. They might be close to somebody over there that they might feel inspired to help that person out. Next thing you know, guys, you're gonna be overwhelmed with the amount of music that's gonna come out. You're not going to have a favorite. It's going to be impossible. And that's the goal. We shouldn't just have a favorite and focus on one. And then later that artist does something that, you know, society doesn't like. And now your favorite artist, you got to toss them and find another one. That, to me, that's not okay. And I want to just kind of steer away from that stuff. So that's my goal right now.
And what about the podcast?
The podcast, that's it right there. This podcast is to grow into something that is going to serve the music community. That's what I'm hoping to do with this.
Not bad dreams to have.
No.
It's like you had a humble awakening.
Yeah. Very humble awakening. I mean, I see one of my humble awakenings should have been when I decided to jump on American Idol and audition for that, and also X Factor. I got on there and everything was great, but the long lines and the time we had to get there and the hours we spent getting in line just to get your spirits crushed. There's so many artists that die right there. And I was one of those, you know. I showed up there 2 different occasions and I did fine. I was making my way, and one judge likes you, another judge likes you, and you get to one that they all want to hear something. They came with an expectation, and just one person's expectation can just entirely, if you allow it, it can crush your entire dreams. And I think a lot of people are stuck there.
No, did they give you any advice to follow up? Like, were they 100% uninterested, or were they just on the fence?
When I went for that, they seemed more like, hurry up, let's get this audition over with. I've got, you know, a burger sitting in the back right now. If I get 10 interviews done, I'm going to switch with somebody else. I'm going to go eat that burger. You know what I mean? And you're holding me back right now with your cracky voice because you've been outside in the cold. You know what I mean?
That crushes a lot of artists.
And that crushes a ton of people.
A lot of people who have potential.
Yeah. And I've met quite a bit of people with potential that, honestly, had they been put in the right situation, they'd top anybody like Taylor Swift. Easy. You know? And you got all these artists that think that they're up here because that other person that got their dreams crushed, they didn't get a chance to get up there. They wouldn't be on that pedestal.
No, we've seen a lot of artists like that on those shows.
Yeah. And I think it's terrible. So I want to help get those artists an opportunity if I can.
Look at you making me all teary-eyed and stuff. So, where do you see this going into the future?
If I can expand this in some way where it's not just me doing it all the time. I mean, guest host. Mm-hmm. You know, it could be already signed artists that have already made it, decided to, hey, I like what this guy's doing and I want to support it and help out. If I could reach those people to humble them and let them know, remember where you came from. Remember how hard it was for you. And they decided to just jump in and be like, hey, you think I could host for you one of these days or something like that? That's going to inspire another artist. You know what I mean? Like, how can you kill that inspiration? It wouldn't happen. You know, it would actually grow things very, very quickly. I think we would see a huge shift in the music industry and in society in a whole. I mean, it's infectious. All positivity is infectious, regardless of what anybody says. Negativity is infectious, but so is positivity. So that's the direction I'm headed. That's where this is headed.
Okay. Well, that answered the question for collaborations too.
Oh yeah, collaborations. If I could do a collaboration, I know for sure my main ones. There's probably about 3 or 4 guys I know I would love to collaborate on music with. There would be NF, Eminem, definitely. I don't care what anybody thinks. Yes, I know he curses. You just kind of gotta, tone that out sometimes because his lyrics and his creativity is just off the charts. And I think that would, I have a lot of creativity and I know I do. And having two hugely, multiple hugely creative minds together on a song, I think it would just blast everything out.
No, yeah, that's why everyone wants to see NF and him collab.
Yeah. So, there's NF, there's Eminem. I have thought about Tech Nine. And also Hobson. Hobson, I've been a really big fan of Hobson's as well. So those are some of my main collaborations that I would like to see happen in the future.
Is there anything else important that you want everyone to know?
I do have an album coming out here soon. I don't have its launch date, but I just released a July 10th. July 10th, we will actually start pre-ordering for the merch. I will have all that information. I'll obviously share it here where the podcasts are going to be so that people have an opportunity to check it out. There will be merch directly linking you to this podcast as well, because Sound Collision, when I started it out, it was just Sound Collision Entertainment Underground, which was my own record label, but decided to branch out and do podcasting, do some sort of radio talk,
Actually, let's start from the beginning. Who were you in the beginning before you were Sound Collision?
Oh, that's an embarrassing one. I actually got made fun of for it. So before I, created Sound Collision Entertainment, I was actually going by Angry Cat Records. And it was probably the most embarrassing decision I ever made. I had logos with an angry cat on it on the side of my car. I was driving around and people were like pointing and, hey, where's the angry cat at? And I'm like, why?
I don't think that's really embarrassing because you see so many memes nowadays that they get so viral.
I know. And it was more, I rushed.
Yeah.
I rushed and came up with this note, like I gotta have something out there. But officially before I had decided to go with the name Conquest, I was a Master's Theory. That was the name I was going under. And when I changed Angry Cat Records to Sound Collision Entertainment, I was like, this a Master's Theory thing it just doesn't vibe with the music. Like, how do you yell that out? If I collab with somebody, it just doesn't it doesn't have an for nothing. And
one of your collaborators wouldn't be able to do it.
No.
Who is that?
Gordo. Yeah, Gordo. That's probably one of my biggest supporters. He's down in Arizona. But it's just like, yeah, I couldn't see him yelling that out in the back of a song like some of you have heard with any of the tracks we've done together. I couldn't come to terms with it. Like, it just didn't feel right, And then also, I felt like I was being pushed. I had, we call it planting the seed. We actually had someone plant the seed in us to follow our faith. We ignored it, And I know God had been giving this nudge to me. And Conquest, when Conquest came about, you know, Conquest is the one the conqueror, you know, out of the four horsemen, basically the start of everything and the end of everything. So for me, it was just like an end of my past. It was, me battling through and just conquering everything wrong that was in my life to create a new beginning.
Yeah.
You know, so I felt like Conquest was like perfect. It was perfect for that. So I stuck with it. I stuck with it, and people started to like it too, which I didn't expect that. I wasn't getting nothing as a master's theory.
Well, I remember, I remember as soon as you did Conquest, all of a sudden, all these other artists were like popping up that were, and you see, that's the great part about your name is that not only you pop up, but other artists who've been put down in the dirt start popping up, and you start giving them recognition just because of your music.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful.
And it's been great, you know, like I get on every platform, and then you also have the struggle of what's going on right now. So Spotify, all right, Spotify right now is not paying the artists what they should be paying them. YouTube is actually top. They're top notch right now, paying artists what they can. And it's just Spotify just decided to start backing away from paying artists, charging customers like you more money. So it actually, that's just another struggle to add, because when artists put their music out there, they are paying fees for these distribution companies. If you think that artists making music is free, she can tell you it is not free at all. And it's actually a struggle. Like sometimes it will create delays. If I'm making music, it'll create a delay to where I can't get my music, an album released on time, because I got bills to pay. And every other struggling indie artist out there has bills to pay.
The way you say it, like it was the doom, end of the world.
It is doom, you know, and that's just the, you know, congratulations if you have a ton of money, but I'm sorry, it still is the root of all evil. You know, regardless of what anybody wants to say, more money, more problems. You know, and it's the truth.
Yeah. Well, it's like we tell our kids all the time: money's not going to make you happy.
No, it's not going to make you happy. You know, and you can't. You know, I realized that there was a void that I was trying to fill with a lot of nonsense, especially in rap. Some of you who have stuck by me all this time on this journey know I have said some really messed up stuff on my music. And that was me trying to fill this void, this emptiness that I had, you know, and it wasn't until I found God that I was like, yeah, I started to get filled. And I'm like,
you started feeling that conviction.
The conviction kicked in, and I'm like, this isn't me. This is anger, and that anger isn't me. You know, that's the enemy trying to get me to make more enemies and just cause more chaos.
I mean, it worked for a little bit.
Yeah. You know, there was people, but I feel like I was attracting the wrong audience. You know, like if I were to have a concert one day, I don't want a bunch of people fighting in the front of me while I'm trying to, you know, I don't even mind the mosh pits.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I don't want a situation where my music is pushing people to make bad decisions.
Right.
To where, let's say, you know, Joe Schmo said something to this guy, and they actually end up bumping into each other and at my concert. And they, you know, both are fans, and I've been encouraging them to, you know, gangbang, do drugs or drink or do any of that stuff. I don't want them to. I don't want to be a cause or contribute to it.
Right.
So I decided I needed to make a huge change, and that's what I'm doing. Now,
you have an artist that you're listening to lately that has actually been inspiring you to be really positive.
The main artist I've been listening to a lot has been Toby Mac.
Yeah.
Toby Mac. So, like I said, I was doing choir, and in the journey, I was singing before I started rapping.
Right.
You know, I was singing before, not under a name or anything like that, but I loved singing. and I would get into these karaoke competitions, and I won. You know, I'm not saying it to like make myself like, oh, like, you know, I'm not conceited, I promise.
Oh, look at this
but
guy right here.
but I loved singing, and I think with the anger and everything, I turned to rap and started just being angry in it. And I kind of lost singing for a while. And Toby Mac, listening to Toby Mac, and he would sing, and he would, you know, do some, you know, type of rap in there, you know, very similar to rapping. And I'm like, wow, I could do that.
And
You
it's
know,
very
I could do
positive.
something like that. And that's just it. It's uplifting. And that's what I'm talking about. You can make any kind of music uplifting with the right words, you know, as long as people can relate, and they see the end game, or like you getting past certain things, that is hope that you're giving to them.
Right.
So Toby Mac has definitely inspired me to like really dive in, you know, and work on some things, but that's to be announced. That's another time.
Right. We don't want to give too much
I'm not
because
gonna
you do
give too
have
much.
you do have another album coming out.
Yeah. I still got this album that I got to finish right now, before I jump to different things like I did with this thing. You know, just keeping myself busy so I don't, you know, keep yourself busy. It's very important to keep yourself busy. Success.